Hi, and welcome to another episode of Eyes Wide Open, a daily short podcast on the topic of Moshiach and the upcoming redemption, dedicated to the memory of Rabbi Tzvi ben Alexander Cohen Kogan, Hashem Yinkim Domi. Over the past several episodes, we've been talking about the obligation to believe in and yearn for the coming of Moshiach. And we have talked at length about how there is a constant obligation to believe in Moshiach, a constant obligation to yearn for Moshiach, and the point of this obligation is to push yourself to do everything you possibly can to bring Moshiach. The question, though, is why? Why is there such an obligation to bring Moshiach and to believe in Moshiach? And there's several layers to the answer to this question, and over the next several episodes, we're going to talk about them. The first and most obvious answer is because it is such a prevalent theme in the Torah that to not believe in Mashiach is to deny a huge chunk of the Torah. It will be as if someone were to say, I only believe in 4 of the 5 books of Moses. I don't believe in the 5th book or the 3rd book or whatever it is. I don't believe in one of them. You're missing a huge chunk of the Torah. Since the Torah talks so much about Mashiach, and clearly the fact that the Torah talks about Mashiach is not just to give us an interesting factoid that one day there will be a redemption, but to tell us to believe in it and to be excited about it. Therefore, we're meant to believe in it. That's the simple answer. But it doesn't fully answer the question. In the end of the day, why does the Torah want us so much to believe in Mashiach? And the answer, and we're going to see several different reasons, but they all boil down to the same thing. Believing in Mashiach shows God we care. And to explain this idea, one of the misconceptions and the misbeliefs about Mashiach is that Mashiach is a reward for our serving God. And if it's a reward for serving God, it will be inappropriate to believe in Mashiach, because we're not meant to serve God for a reward. We're meant to serve God because it's the right thing to do. It will be akin to a husband and wife who do everything quid pro quo. I took out the trash, now you got to take out dinner. And that's the whole relationship. Everything is transactional. That's definitely not a model of a relationship that anyone should aspire to. And likewise, with our relationship with God, it's not meant to be transactional. And we're not meant to do things just because we'll get the reward. And if Mashiach is a reward, it would be inappropriate for us to constantly be yearning for the reward of Mashiach. But Mashiach is not a reward at all. As we'll talk about on later episodes, the redemption of the dead, the Tchias HaMesim, is a reward, or at least there's an element of it which is a reward for action. But Mashiach is not a reward at all. And in fact, Mashiach is the next stage of God's plan for us. And therefore, it is not only appropriate, it is vital to show God that we're yearning for Mashiach. And to give an example of this idea, when the Jewish people were in the desert between going out of Egypt on the way to the land of Israel, they were not meant to be there originally for 40 years. They're only meant to be there for a short amount of time. And what changed is that they sent 12 spies to spy out the land of Israel, and 10 of them brought back a false narrative about the land of Israel. And what fueled that false narrative was a lack of interest in the land of Israel. They weren't excited, they didn't want to go, they didn't get it. They felt like they should just stay in the desert, and they would live us the spiritual life of Jews in the desert, God taking care of all their physical needs. And that bothered God, because if God is taking them to the land of Israel, He wants to see from the Jewish people that they're excited to go. Instead, what He's seen from them is apathy, complete lack of interest. And so He said to the Jewish people, if you don't want to go, you're not going to go. I'll wait till the next generation. We'll wait 40 years. This generation will die out, and we'll go to the next generation, because God wants to see from us, and He wanted to see from us then, that we were excited about the land of Israel. In a similar sense, to turn to God and say, God, if you're going to bring Mashiach, you'll do it on your own terms. I'm not going to get involved. It will be inappropriate for me to yearn for something that you haven't yet brought. Clearly you know what you're doing. If you haven't yet brought Mashiach, clearly you have a plan. So I'm not going to get involved in yearning for it, because that would be a form of distrust in God's plans. On the contrary, yearning for Mashiach shows God how much we care. When we don't yearn for Mashiach, God looks to us and says, I haven't brought Mashiach yet, and that doesn't bother you? It doesn't bother you that Mashiach's not here? It should bother you. How could it not bother you? So the very basic and fundamental reason why we need to yearn for Mashiach is because we're meant to care. We're meant to, and we need to show God that we care. And over the next several episodes, we're going to be talking about why is it that we need to care about Mashiach.